Hello there, you're watching and listening to another Scoutcast on www.fantasyfootballscout.co.uk, and my name is Mark, the real Mark.
My name is John T.
My name's Andy.
And my name's Az.
Good evening. How do I find you there? I said it again, Andy. Sorry. Oh dear, it's terrible. Yes. How are you, gentlemen? All good?
Yeah, really well. Yeah, I've recovered from a cold that hampered me a little last week.
Yeah, you were troubled last week. I thought at one point the voice was going. I thought
it was. It went about 3 times.
Great. No goals imminent this week.
And and I had to try and cut it short. But it was okay. But yeah, I kept putting a mute button on because if I hadn't had that mute button on, it would have all you just heard was just really hacking cough. So it's very unpleasant.
No one wants that.
Very unpleasant my end.
Fully fit. You were 75% flagged. Another one of those dodgy flags last week, John T.
Yeah,
Az, welcome to the Scoutcast. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, can't complain.
Decent game week, was it? We'll touch on that in a minute. It was a bit of a meh all round, wasn't it? Andy, yourself, how are you?
I'm glad the next game week's very close, so we can forget about the last one.
Yeah, it is handy, isn't it, having the game week so quickly? It means we've got to do a Monday Scoutcast. I think it's the first time we've done one on a Monday evening. Obviously, you see, I'm in a field of daisies there in the in-laws' house. Different backdrop this week. Same problems. My face is far too big. I apologise for that in advance. Okay, Scoutcast. We've got Rough for the Smooth tonight, haven't we, Jonty? That makes a return. We've got community questions on Manchester United, I believe. Again, we're going back to them. Jose says something particularly interesting, hasn't he, about rotation. Is that right, Jonty?
Yes, he has. Yes, particularly about the Europa League. So we'll come to that in a bit.
And we got to have a weekly stock check on Alexis Sanchez's frame of mind, it seems, after Sunday's events, where it was a strange performance, wasn't it? He kind of played within himself almost, but then I guess so did Arsenal and Manchester City on the day. But yeah, we're going to need to check in with Sanchez, aren't we, Jonty? Yeah,
definitely. He wasn't his usual wonderful self. But hopefully he'll be a bit better.
Well, we've all gone there now. He's too expensive, so it looks like we're stuck with him. But let's just hope he recovers. And then what else we got to look at? We've got a Mane replacement, of course, another key injury. What we can do about that? And I think the familiar names are going to crop up in that as well. So plenty to get into. Obviously, we're going to preview game week 31, which kicks off tomorrow, which is very close indeed. Which, as Andy quite rightly points out, it's quite convenient that it is so close because game week 30 was a bit of a non-event, wasn't it? We were kind of building it up because we felt that there was so much diversity likely in the captains, and to an extent that was true, but it just didn't happen. John T, you came top of the pile, so I guess you should start us off.
I did.
How do you think it went?
I thought it was a great game week. It was brilliant.
Fair enough.
I got 58, but took a hit. I got in Vardy and captained him, so I got a captain success. And I got Bertrand in for Coleman and got a clean sheet. I even got another clean sheet from Charlie Daniels.
Yeah,
I'm riding my luck there. I mean, I know this isn't going to continue, but I'm enjoying the Charlie Daniels ride while I can. I got a goal from Andy Carroll, which was nice. And it was very good in a week where so many of the big captains fell. But I said last week I got Vardy in specifically for me for a mini league situation, and as predicted, but none of my rivals got Vardy in. And virtually all of them captained either Costa or Lukaku. So for me, that was, absolutely perfect for me.
Yeah, you spent the 4-point hit, though, so I guess that was the only thing. But you've got him for the Sunderland game, so I think you've got to be optimistic about getting further profits there, haven't you?
Yeah, I got Vardy in for these 2 games. I think I'm going to get points from him. And I was betting that he was going to do better than the more popular captain choices, particularly that week. So and he did.
So, be honest here, when Bournemouth got that penalty, did you just went,
well, I missed it.
Daniels has got to be stepping up.
Well, I missed it. I thought it was, I was listening to it, but then I got distracted with something else and then came back to it. And then they were talking about that missed penalty. And I was thinking, oh no, what if it's Charlie? Because I thought he'd be next in line. And it was Harry Arter. So Harry Arter's now missed. So I'm presuming they're going to do if you miss it, back of the queue.
No, Eddie Howe actually did say post-match, had Josh King been on the pitch, he would have taken it. So very annoying as a Josh King owner. But what has happened to Charlie Daniels on spot kicks? Because last season he was second in line, taking them, banging them up. It was never convincing. But you just don't want to know this year, does he?
He took him. I think. I seem to remember missing one, but pretty much nailed the rest of them. I don't know. I just have no idea. I think they've got so many options here, but they've got so many rubbish options. They can't. I think next time they should just let Charlie take it, let him put it in, and then show him how it's done.
They're running out of players to take him now, so he's probably going to take the next one.
Well, yeah.
That is true. No,
let's get Stanislas off his sickbed and take
maybe.
him.
But when the penalty was, I thought for a minute it was Charlie Downs, and I thought, Jonty's going to get a pen bonus and a clean sheet here. And then I was like, oh no, it's Harry Arter. That's all right. And then the hilarity of skying it on Southampton's dodgy penalty spot.
Okay, so was happy with it. So
yeah, he's left-footed penalty taker, so everything's fine. As your game week, you came next by the look of it, 50 and a -4. Tadic, interesting. Did you captain Tadic?
Yeah, I captained. Well, I looked at my team and I had Alonso captain and I had Sterling, who I didn't think was going to do well. And I thought Palace were going to score. I said it last week. I just had a feeling that it was going to be a tricky game for Chelsea. So I thought I'd get in Tadic. Gabbiadini's out. Tadic, he had that interview where he was saying he didn't like getting subbed, and Pure was like, well, you got to prove yourself. So I thought, this is it. He's going to prove himself against Wolves. I did not see a 0-0 in that game. No. I thought there was going to be, quite a few goals in that. So yeah, took a risk. It didn't pay off. We all captained someone differently this week, which was interesting. And only Jonty got any points out of it. So yeah,
and that was kind of typical of the game. Again, I mean, Aguero and Vardy came in, of course, and Hazard got an assist, I guess. But it was a difficult one. It was pin the tail on the donkey kind of thing, quite literally in some cases.
I got Valencia in, which I was happy with. But yeah. Shame you take a risk and it doesn't pay off. But
Tadic was lively. He had about 10 chances in the opening 5 minutes, didn't he?
I was following it on the live like stream, and just kept saying Tadic has a close shot, just whistles past the post. Oh, come on! And then 0-0.
Yeah, I think he'll do you all right. You've got to keep him for the 10 fixtures they got left, and I think you'll be all right there. I mean, Tadic is someone I'm looking at for sure. Andy, so you went Sanchez. He was my second choice. So going into the 4 o'clock, you must have been another one rubbing your hands, surely.
Yeah, it was kind of pressure off at that point because I had it on Costa when we left the Scoutcast last week, and then I switched it to Mane the night before, and then I switched to Sanchez before the deadline. And no one had really gone mad. So I've only lost 4 points by switching off Mane. So yeah, it was kind of like I was hoping, obviously, for a goal assist maybe, but it was kind of pressure off. I thought if he doesn't do anything, then I've kind of not really lost out this week. So yeah, he did nothing, but Valencia was my transfer in, 8 points, which was nice. Pickford in goal instead of Heaton with his 9 saves was awesome, 5 points, and then Mawson clean sheet. And probably the best thing was Son coming on for a goal.
Oh, tell me about it. That was.
Because as soon as I saw him, I don't know. Obviously, we say sometimes like, "Oh, this player and that player, they can come on and score." But I don't know. There was something about Son. I thought he'll definitely come on. He'll definitely get some minutes. Hopefully he'll score, and he did. And now, I've gone from thinking about who I can get rid of him for to being really happy that he's in my team. So I think he'll start the next game now. At least I hope he will. So that was a nice 6 points there from Son. But overall, 44. Only dropped 1,000 places though, 65 to 66k. So it could have been. I think it could have been a worse week. I don't think anyone really did that well. So
no, this is it. No, I was kind of hoping that we'd see an exciting shift and one big hitter would come in and there'd be a big captain score somewhere. It didn't really happen. So it was an opportunity missed, perhaps. But fair play to Jonty, he did hit the right captain, I guess. But yeah, the Sun guy, I was in one of those moments, again, a couple of game weeks in a row now, where I've started the first 10 minutes, the team sheets have come out and I've been like, because I benched Carroll. Of course, Carroll punished me early on with the goal. And Son was on the bench for Spurs, and I played them the wrong way. I thought I played it wrongly, but as it turns out, they both got 6 points because Son delivered and Carroll dropped out the bonus. And I had the same thing with Pickford Heaton. I was worried I'd made the wrong call there because Heaton looked like he was going to get a clean sheet. Then it all turned and it was fine because Pickford, the saves machine, came up with points. Had Watford Sunderland scored, he would have got the bonus as well. So yeah, it was all right in the end. Turned out all right in the end, but it was pretty unspectacular. Certainly in our camp, it seems. What about the community, Jonty? What about the rough with this move?
Well, let's go some rough first. So there was a lot of who took a punt on captaining Alonso. It's not something I was brave enough to do, but plenty we did. Freeman, President Giggs, Bunk Moreland, and I think Philman, who's in our live Hall of Fame top 10, all took a punt. They all failed, so perhaps they won't do that again. Hot dogs for team, Captain Sigurdsson, so another one there, taking one of those captaincy punts. And then Sleep Talk, who you just knocked out in the Fantasy Football Scout Cup by mere 2 points. One of the reasons you won is because he had an absolute nightmare with his team. None of them showed up. So Gabbiadini, and Deeney and Walker and Albrighton.
He's unlucky there.
None of them. So he went in there thinking he was going to at least field 11, and he could only field 10. And you knocked him out by 2 points.
So that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So Albrighton's cold won it for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So MK Horton, he had Pennington, but as his third sub. I mean, of course, you would have him as your third sub. Why would you think Matthew Pennington would get a goal there? But yeah, and he captained Alexis Sanchez to really rub salt into that. But got a few smooths though, not many this week as we've highlighted. So Hasselbank forever. He got rid of Coleman and Funes Mori for Valencia and Ben Davis. It's just a nice, simple move. Couple of nice clean sheets. Couple of great players to get in, and a couple of long-term injury people out.
And he also Grzycki as well.
And he also had Grzycki as well. Yeah, Grzycki. And he benched Lukaku, which I think is a smooth move. So you've got a player like Lukaku in form, but you don't fancy the fixture, bench him. And then a lot of his other players like Mane, Ali, and indeed Son. So in fact, he benched Lukaku for Son, all did well. So I like that. That's good. That's a gamble that paid off.
Okay, a couple of things I want to touch on here then. First of all, let's put this to you. What do you make of Chelsea then? What do you make Alonso, the situation here? Because last week I kind of like, well, he took a free kick, hit the bar, getting forward still. I'm going to give him more time. Are we worried, Andy, about this? Because seven without a clean sheet now. Is it jitters, or legitimately should we be looking to get rid?
Yeah, I think he's a problem. I think if we didn't have the money tied up in him, we'd seriously consider getting rid. Because the double game week's he's going to have a double game week later in the season, but it's 7 game weeks away. I just wonder if we, like for my team, the only player I'd probably get in would be like a Spurs defender, I suppose. I don't need Valencia or so I'm not in a huge rush to get rid of him. But yes, he's attacking, but I think his stats are down, I think, from what I saw. And clean sheets got to be the kind of bread and butter. There was all those weeks they got like 7 or 8 clean sheets in a row, and where he didn't necessarily get attacking returns. So yeah, I think he's a problem. And with the money he got tied up in him, we're trying to get Sanchez and all these players back in now. Perhaps it's time to let him go. But it's like, for me, I've got like 0.5 million wrapped up in him. Like if I get rid of him, it's going to cost me $500,000 to get him back, and I will want him back for that double game week. So I'm a bit torn right now, but I can see why people are getting cold feet.
As you got a view on Alonso?
Yeah, I think it was a similar thing to what we talked about a few weeks ago when we had Baines and Coleman. I think we all know that Alonso's a problem, but no one's quite brave enough just to take the plunge and get rid of him.
Elephant in the room.
Yeah, so I'm tempted, and I can't see it getting any better for Chelsea because they're going to wrap up the league soon anyway. I can't see anyone else. What are they, like 8-9 points clear?
Oh, 7 points.
7 points. Yeah. Well, there's not that. Yeah, I suppose there's not many games left. But when it gets down to the end of the season, if they wraps up the league with 3 or 4 games left, like Alonso is going to be even worse with an option. So it might be a good move to do it. The trouble is, who do you get in?
Well,
you got the Spurs. You got the Spurs defenders. You could go down to Ben Davies, but you've always got the Warrior Rose coming back. Walker was benched for some reason, which must have annoyed a lot of people. You could get in Alderweireld, I guess. So Spurs might be good, but apart from that, there isn't that many good premium defenders at the moment. So it's hard to know who to get in for him.
Yeah, this is the issue, John T, isn't it? Because I look at it and I've got Valencia and Davis, so I've got United and Spurs covered already. Happy with Davis. I'm not convinced Rose is going to come back this season the way it's going. He's certainly not going to. They're going to be keeping him for the semi-final. So where would we go if we got rid of Alonso? Where would I double up on Spurs? Maybe, I guess, but it's not really. Now Coleman's out of the picture. There's not that many options, are there?
Well, I think there's plenty of options, but it's more a case of each team. Do you need the money? So you look at his price at the moment. I mean, I haven't even looked at his price. So I got him for something like 5.9, and what's he now? 6.9, I think it is. So something around
6-7. But go on,
6-7. Yeah. So yeah, it's around that. So there's a lot of money tied up to. So do I need that money? If I need that money, and I may well do on a wild card. So say if I'm wild carding game week 35, 36. I'm really looking at Chelsea's double game week there, which will probably be game week 37. And as I said, by then they will probably have the league wrapped up. So then you're looking at Nathan Ake coming in probably for a game. You're looking at a bit of mix and match there. I mean, that's what always happens. So I don't think he would get a double game week. So I'd be looking at that and thinking time to move on. But I don't need the money at the moment. But if I did need the money, yes, I would consider getting rid of him. I think there's loads of options at the moment. So there's Valencia, obviously, we've mentioned. There's a whole bunch of Spurs defenders to mention there. Ryan Bertrand, I've just got in as well. So Southampton have got lots of fixtures coming up, and he's always got that assist potential. And actually, he's on the penalty list there. So after Tadic, so Tadic is off the pitch, which Tadic is off the pitch. 70-minute strike, and it's off you go Tadic time. So there's 20 minutes there where if Gabbiadini's not around and Tadic isn't, there's a 20-minute window of Ryan Bertrand's time. And there's lots of others as well. There's Ben Gibson at Middlesbrough. There's all the ones that we mentioned last week.
Yeah,
Middlesbrough got great fixtures, clean sheet potential. Ben Gibson's, what did you get those bonus points again? And there's all these other ones like Mawson. That's watching that, listening to that Swansea game. It was constantly Sigurdsson corner, Mawson's header, and it was just shouting it out. Mawson was going for all of these balls there. He's going to be scoring again. There's lots of great options, I think. But at the moment, I'm quite happy with Alonso because Alonso has still been getting attacking returns. It's just those clean sheets. So
the thing is, you watch Alonso as well, and he's still getting forward. Like he had another shot. Yeah. He could have scored again at the weekend. He's just so advanced. It's just tricky. He's become a player like one of the big strikers where you're almost scared to get rid because you know there could be another big 15-pointer or even more in it. We've seen him doing once already. So it's difficult. Okay, the other one I want to bring out from the rough of this movie is Lukaku benching him. Because I look at it this week and think, Lukaku at United, it's interesting. I did a couple of articles on him this week where just one, this much we know. 3 matches that he's failed to get a shot on goal in are Man United, Chelsea, and at the weekend Liverpool. The 3 tough matches. When he plays those tough games, he seems to go missing. United on Wednesday, tomorrow night, big game, or tonight if you're listening on Tuesday, big game for him. I'm looking at it and going, should I consider benching him? Now we saw, it was Ozil, was it Hasselbank Forever who benched him. Is that a good? It was a good decision, it turns out. But are you worried about doing that, Jonty? Would you?
I personally wouldn't, because I've still got Matt Phillips. Somehow he's clawing.
He's getting closer, apparently.
He's getting close. He's going to be close until he's about 80 years old. But so I've got the very close Matt Phillips. So it's not an option for me. But for someone like yourself who's got a strong attacking 8, yes, we know this. We've had articles on it. I think we've mentioned it lots of times. We've had community articles on this. Is Lukaku a troll? No, he's the reverse troll. He will do very well at home against poor teams. Send him off to a great top 4 side. He will not deliver. He might get you a goal, possibly, but he probably won't. And so he's pretty, he's great. He's an ideal player for me. I was partially tempted to get rid of him, but I knew I'd want him back for those nice home games. But if you've got a better option, bench him.
Andy, Lukaku, would you bench him for against United? I mean, we've got Valencia in our teams, haven't we? So we're kind of in that catch-22.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that we get a clean sheet in that game, but I wouldn't like to bench Lukaku. I'd have to be a very good player that was playing instead of him. Like I'm similar to Johnny. My backup are like Crouch, Mawson against Spurs at home. It's just not players I'm going to play instead of Lukaku. We saw him against. It was a bit lucky, maybe a bit fortunate, but obviously he scored against Spurs when a lot of us thought that was going to be a clean sheet and perhaps not a goal for him. So, yeah, I don't know. Like he's in apart. Obviously, he did rubbish in the last game, but he's been in really good form. He scored 9 goals in 6 games before that. And I know it was against weaker opposition, but yeah, I wouldn't like to be benching unless you've got a really, really good 8th attacker, which I'm not sure many people have. I think I'd play him for the most part.
Okay, are you in this situation?
Well, I've got Tom Carroll, who I'll be playing instead of him, so kind of feel like it's not worth it. It is tempting to sell him. I think there's a case for selling him. I think Everton's team is a bit ravaged at the moment with injuries, and you look at the players they were playing against Liverpool in that derby, Pennington and that other guy who's double-barreled name guy.
Calvin Lewin.
Calvin Lewin. That's it, yeah, defenders out. You've got, they're really patched up, and it's definitely going to affect his output, I think. If I didn't have so many other issues in my team, I'd probably look to be selling him because he's an expensive player and he hasn't got any doubles on the horizon. So I think selling him could be a good option, but I can't see many people benching him unless they've got someone like Andy Carroll or someone like that who they could play?
I mean, for me, it's Gareth McCauley. I could play McCauley at Watford or Lukaku at United, so it's tempting. It is tempting because McCauley's obviously got a goal in him and arguably more likely to score. But it's I don't know. We'll have to see. That one I'll go to the wire tomorrow night. But I mean, Everton, I mean, they missed Coleman, didn't they? I was looking at it, and Holgate got forward a lot, but doesn't have the end product, and they just didn't have any kind of way of breaking Liverpool down. And Barkley went missing once he got the booking. It was. Lukaku started then dropping deep to get the ball. Then he's not affecting the game as much. It was a very difficult.
They might be all right in a couple of games, but if they, when they kind of gel. But can you really give him that long? It's just there's a lot,
Well, he's got good fixtures. He's got good fixtures to come after the United game. It's just this one. I just wonder whether people would be tempted to bench him.
Yeah, I just wonder if the reward really outweighs the risk because he's owned by so many.
Yeah.
So if, like I said, I expect us to do quite well defensively. But let's say he does get a couple of goals, then. He's owned by nearly half the game. It could be a bit of a rank killer. I don't know. It is just one game, maybe, so maybe it's worth the risk. But I just don't know if the reward outweighs.
Swapping with Vardy, though, straight swap. Sunderland.
Sunderland, that's a different matter. But I mean, benching
him. Oh, benching him, yeah.
No, I'm not going to sell him. Not with the 3 games he's got coming up after that. I think he can do too much damage still. So, okay, let's talk United then, because Everton are playing United on Tuesday night, and we've got to reassess them. Mourinho's come out and said his priorities could change. What's the actual quote, Jonty?
Well, I haven't got the exact quote here, but I'll paraphrase him broadly. He was saying the next 2 Premier League games are key in terms of what he prioritises. So if they win, or I would say bare minimum draw and a win at the next 2, then he's going to be satisfied that a top 4, therefore Champions League, is possible via the league. If he feels they drop away and the rivals do well over that time, and it just looks unattainable to get a top 4 finish, then he's going to focus on Europa League to get in there. Now, you never know with Mourinho whether he's playing mind games with us as punters, or whether he's playing mind games with his own players, where he's telling them, because they've basically just drawn against West Brom at home, so that's not great. So he's basically saying to them, pull your socks up, do better the next couple of games. But that's essentially what he's saying. And so what could potentially happen, if we were to take him to his word, if they say get a couple of draws or even a loss against Everton, then we'll be looking at Europa League prioritising. And he pretty much said, I will be focusing my best players on that. So who is best players? It's going to be Ibrahimovic, Valencia, all the players we want to get in are those. So yeah, we're going to see what happened at Liverpool this time last year. So FPL Virgin asks, is it wise to get Manchester United players in if Mourinho prioritises the Europa League? I'm waiting, to be honest. But yeah, if it's looking like he's carrying on with the league, keep him in. And Delafale actually asks, anyway, is Ibrahimovic essential? And he's looking back at some of the times we thought Ibrahimovic would do really well, maybe against Stoke at home or various other games, Bournemouth at home, and he really hasn't, and because he's not putting those chances away. And Paul, another not our Paul, but another Paul, asked how essential is Valencia. So he's thinking about the rotation as well. So that's what we're looking at now. Manchester United, game's changed a bit.
For me, I think Valencia's okay. In the light of what Mourinho said, perhaps we do need to look at it, because we're getting him in on the basis of those 2 double game weeks, and the Burnley fixture was already shaky. We kind of think Ibra was maybe immune to that rotation, but not if they go and slip up against Everton and Sunderland. I guess Sunderland away is the difficult one, though, because you think if you don't have Ibra for that could be maximum damage, big haul, captaincy, etc., etc. So that'll be the concern. So we're kind of cheering them to get a result, and I guess for City to be turned over at Chelsea, aren't we?
One of the things I looked at was the team attacking stats over the season, because one of the problems with Manchester United, I want to see it in stat form, is that they do create a lot of chances, but they're just not putting them away. So I was looking really, and so they scored 42 goals this season, which compares to Liverpool's 64, Chelsea 60, Arsenal 58, Tottenham 57, City 56. They're way behind. They're absolutely way behind. In fact, they're on a par with Bournemouth, and they got 1 more than West Ham, and they've only got 3 more than West Brom. So when Mourinho was getting all uppity about that reporter saying, do you think it was quite even? And he was like affronted that someone dare compare Manchester United with the West Brom. Well, the facts speak for themselves. In terms of goals scored, they're pretty similar, really, and have been all season. but then you look at the goal attempts, 481. So that's absolutely huge. That completely dwarfs West Brom's 300 goal attempts this season. So they're really doing it. And that's what, and I've been so frustrated all season with Ibrahimovic, because he almost destroyed my faith in stats one point this season, because I just couldn't work out how a player like that could keep missing so much. So I'm wary of Ibrahimovic anyway, to be honest.
So I mean, Andy, if we don't get him this week for the Everton game, surely it's the Sunderland game we're fearing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if you don't get him in this week, you probably just wait, because you're banking on us thrashing Sunderland and him being in the points, because then it's Chelsea at home, and if we don't win the game against Sunderland and haven't done well against Everton, then I think Mourinho is actually one of the managers that doesn't necessarily play mind games when it comes to who's going to play. So I think if he's saying he's going to concentrate on the Europa League if we don't win the next two, then I think that's what he's going to do. So the safe play is to wait, I think, for both of these players. Arguably, like Valencia essential, I don't think so. I think a Spurs defender is probably better right this second, like for the next few. So I don't think he's essential. I'm probably going to get Ibra in this week, but I don't think I'd necessarily advise other people to do the same. Okay. To be fair, like Everton are playing the kids. He's had a rest. Then it's Sunderland away. If we win both of those, then I do think he's going to concentrate on the Europa League if we lose, but I don't think Mourinho wants to finish outside that top four. He's going to do everything he can to get inside it. So yeah, if we do win, I'm confident to have Ibra for both the double game weeks. So the safe play, I think, is to wait on both of them.
So it sounds like as the Everton game is going to be crucial. I mean, I'm weighing it up going in early for Ibrahimovic, but I am wary because for me it'd be selling Aguero, who is in decent form, up against Chelsea, who are just lousy at the back. I mean, he would back their defence. So yeah, it's a tricky one for me personally, and this has put things in a different light, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was all set, weeks ago to sell Aguero for Ibrahimovic this week. It was always my plan. But look at how City set up, and they're just so ridiculously attacking. And you look how United set up, and they're getting forward, but you always sense they're not quite clicking, are they? And
yeah, City
are
playing
now
with a handbrake on, aren't they?
They are, definitely.
And that's the thing. That's the difference.
Yeah, but I actually don't think that Ibrahimovic is going to be rested at all. I think he's had his rest now. He's had his couple of games off, and they have got no other options that can do what he does. And unless he's literally saying, I've given up with the league, that is it. I can't see him being dropped, because he is so important to them picking up points. And even if they're going for draws in their games, they still need him, because otherwise they're just not scoring any goals. So I personally don't think rotation's a problem with him, but I do think that United in general are a problem. So I'm gonna wait, I think, on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't want to sell Aguero at the moment. He's picking up points and
and the thing is with Aguero is that he's got good fixtures to come, and as we get nearer those, we're going to get less likely to sell him at all. But yeah, I think we've got to wait. I mean, the Everton game is crucial for us, I think, in the light of what Mourinho said. But I think you're right about Ibrahimovic. He criticised the attacking players on Saturday after the West Brom game. He singled them out really and said, the four attackers let him down, didn't finish their chances. He hasn't got a plan B, has he? If he doesn't have Ibra in the team, there is nobody he sees who can convert chances. So I think you might have nailed it there. You still think that Ibra, even with rotation, will be immune to it. Well, I guess we have to see. Okay, Mane replacements, Jonty.
Yeah, so Chase asks, is Eriksen or Coutinho, are they the best options? And Fantasy Philosopher reminds us of Dele Alli. So how important is it to own Ali? And Bump Moreland and Delafale asking about Sanchez, whether he's essential as well, that word again. And the Gambler points out, is Sanchez worth his price tag on the wing? So one of the reasons we're looking at Sanchez again as a possible replacement or not is because of that lackluster display against City at the weekend, and he's just not effective on the wing. So when he got his big score against West Ham in game week 14, which is you think, wow, West Ham, he likes them, but he was playing centrally up top for that game, for pretty much all that game. I was actually cheekily suggesting that Andy Carroll might be a better option to captain that game, because Andy Carroll's got 4 in the last 2. I think someone was pointing out he's actually got 6 in the last 3, but I need to confirm that against Arsenal. But he definitely, against a patched up Arsenal defence, has a field day. He scored a hat-trick last time, Gabriel, and was it a Spina as well?
Yeah, so this is it. It's a Spina and Gabriel combination, isn't it?
The history and recent form as well, because Andy Carroll, underlying stats and in terms of attacking threat, assist and a goal in his last 2, he's actually potentially a better captain option. But yeah, I mean, for me, I've got Sanchez in for Mane. Mane was injured. I've got Sanchez in. I think, despite those doubts, if there's any player that I can think will attempt to give it his all if he can, it will be him. I don't know what happened at City, but I can't see him doing that again against West Ham.
See, what's interesting is that when he played the left wing with Giroud playing up front, he was still having 5-6 shots a match. In fact, I think the 4 games that he played left wing with Giroud up front, he had 25 shots in over those 4 games, or the 4 home games.
Yeah,
so it seemed to be a well bet, but it's not working.
I think I don't know whether he was personally affronted by the fact that Welbeck was the central striker. But the other thing is we haven't mentioned is that awesome right back that City have signed recently, Jesus Navas. With his 8 successful tackles.
Well, the stats don't lie. Look, I don't.
The stats don't lie. He got those bonus because he's the most skillful player, arguably, of the game week. But Sanchez isn't going to come across quality like that every week. So perhaps that was a factor in.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute, because I do want to touch on that, because it is an interesting subject. We'll move to that in a minute. But let's go back to the Mane situation. You got Sanchez in, fair enough. Yeah. And I think we agree that there's something wrong with Sanchez. It is a bit of a worry. Yeah. But we'll get to the captain later on. I think we're all going to be captaining Sanchez anyway. Sorry, John, you were going to say?
No, I was going to say, if it was a completely clean slate and I didn't already own this player, this would be my ideal replacement, and it's Dele Alli.
Yeah.
Because he's got the strongest form and the best fixtures, and he's got a good game coming up. So if it was a completely clean slate and someone said, which one player would you get in? Dele Alli, I already own him, so I'm okay.
Yeah, no, I think it is straightforward, and Torres Magic has undoubtedly made that move. He can't fool me, and I don't blame him. I think to me that is the one option that screams out. I've currently got Eriksen and Son, so I'm not going to entertain the idea of getting Ali in yet, but Ali might come in for Son in a week's time. We'll see. But is it straightforward as that, Andy? It's just go Mane to Ali if you don't have him.
Well, I've made one transfer this week so far, and it's Mane to Ali. It was it's just the obvious move. I don't think Mane's going to play. Obviously, we haven't got any further news on him so far, I think. But I kind of use this as my excuse to get Ali in, because Mane was always going to be the easiest way to do it. You've already said it. He's got the form. He's got the fixtures. He's playing almost as high up as whoever the striker is at the time. He's like a second striker at the moment, and he's just too good to ignore for any longer. So I had to get him in. If you're looking at like Eriksen or Coutinho, I think Eriksen is probably the better pick because of the fixtures. And if Mane is out, I do worry about how well Liverpool will play without Mane. They didn't do too well earlier in January, I think it was, when he wasn't playing. So, but yeah, I've got Ali, and it was an easy move. Like, the move almost made itself, to be honest.
Do you agree with this? I guess it's the one obvious route, isn't it?
Yeah. So I haven't got Sanchez yet,
okay.
And I don't know if I'm going to get him. Just to touch back on that, I mean, I agree with everything you've all said. I think Ali's the best option. We've been saying it for quite a while now. If you don't have him, it's an easy one to do. Eriksen probably second on the list, and then one of the other Liverpool mids. There's just so many options. Like you can't really go far wrong if you're getting a decent mid from around the 9 million mark. It's a good price. It's just if you're going up to Sanchez, because there's a lot of hits being taken on the site at the moment of people saying, I didn't plan for this, and now Mane's gone. I've got to get in Sanchez, take an 8-point hit. Is it worth it? I kind of feel like not really. Like if you can get Eriksen or Ali for free, or an 8-point hit to get Sanchez in, it becomes a bit more difficult to know what to do.
I guess what they're doing is that they're thinking, well, I get the points back for the double game weeks, I guess.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, true. I mean, he's going to be needed for those, isn't he? And his fixtures are so good. It's just not something not right about him, and he just doesn't look right. And Arsenal were awful, and if the fixtures weren't so good, it would be so easy to make a case for going without him. But I just don't want to watch that Arsenal West Ham match from behind the sofa. I can't handle it.
This is it, isn't it? Because I think that, for me, I'm not going to be him without Ali at Swansea. That makes me uncomfortable. I don't think there's anything worse. Maybe watching Aguero, but I think Sanchez is worse because Sanchez is on the ball more often. Watching a match and not owning Sanchez, watching an Arsenal match, it's absolutely terrifying. I had to watch the West Ham game live and watch those points go in, and the agony of that. And I swore never to do it again. So that is a motivation because he's
been so good to me over the years. Like I've always got him in a little bit early compared to everyone else, and it's always paid off really well. And I'm just wondering if I could be brave and just say he's gone now and move on. But I don't know. I don't think I can. I don't.
So you are going to get him in then? You are going to do that, are you?
I'm either going to get Eriksen or Sanchez.
Okay.
I don't know. It's probably going to be Sanchez.
But, the vote all goes with Ali, doesn't it? I think Mane, we've seen it a lot, haven't we, this season, Jonty, that an injury happens, and we saw it with Coleman to Valencia. An injury or suspension happens, and it just conveniently just serves one obvious transfer route. And it's happened again, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was actually planning to do something elaborate involving Matt Phillips and finding a bit more money elsewhere.
Something elaborate involving Matt Phillips
and taking a hit to get Sanchez in. Now I just do Mane no hit because I've got the money from Aguero to Vardy. That's another thing people should consider, the price and stuff. There was something just while we've been talking on our live chat. Philman, who we mentioned earlier, is incredulous that we're even just doubting Sanchez. He's just thinking I'm looking at a different player, and I kind of agree with him. I don't think Sanchez has changed. His Arsenal has changed. It's the people around him that have changed. I think Sanchez is still the live wire he always is. And that game against City, he was passing the ball a lot to Monreal, who just wasted it.
I can see him getting a red card. I can see him getting a -2 or something.
Sanchez's anger, it usually comes in, right, I'm going to score, and he just goes for it. And I think he's either going to get a red or he's going to score another hat trick against them. And I'm happy to. We'll come to captains later, but I don't have a problem with Sanchez. I do have a problem with Arsenal at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's something wrong, isn't there? I mean, there's no doubt about it. The spirit's in question, and it's just whether Sanchez can play through it and deliver. And what is puzzling is that the first half hour against West Brom, he looked incredible. And it looked like that, for me, convinced me there's no issue here. Sanchez will get points, no matter how bad Arsenal are playing. And then the City game happened, and it's like, maybe not. Hello. I don't know. I don't know. I'm wavering about the captaincy, but it would be scary not to. Again, it's the same situation where you don't want to watch Sanchez play when you've got your armband on somebody else. I've been in that situation before. I had it on Sigurdsson, and Sanchez delivered 2 goals. Horrible. So I've got to agree with Phil.
West Ham are terrible as well. So.
And also West Ham will probably score to draw the sting out of Arsenal. You've got to think. So.
Well, and also you've got to think with the captaincy. It's a game in itself. It's like when do you go safe with the captaincy? When do you take a risk? The last game we've just been talking about was a fine time to take a risk. There were lots of people. The big captain choices failed, and the other ones, that's the time to take a risk. So if they'd have done well, you're probably going to be okay. But this is the game week where the heavy hitters have got a good fixture, and Sanchez is the top of that pile. And that would be costly.
No, good input from Philman. Might as well get him on the show the way he's always inputting every week now these days.
Always listen to Philman. Yeah,
no, exactly. Okay, 8 game week players. Is it time to ditch? I believe we've got a lot of questions on this.
We have, because a lot of people are starting to look at the players, and quite rightly, they're looking, hang on a minute, so-and-so's got 10 game weeks, so-and-so's got 8. So convenient. You could probably start stocking up with these 10 game week players. Start now, even though there's a wild card to go for a lot of people. So, quick reminder, these are the 8 game week teams. So these are the teams with far fewer fixtures than anyone else. So Hull, Burnley, West Ham, Bournemouth, Stoke, West Brom, Everton and Liverpool. Hots asks, has King had his time? So one of Bournemouth's stars there. And if so, who should we be looking at to replace him in the sub 6 million midfield category? And then FBL Virgin again will be rewarded for showing patience or ruthlessness towards the likes of Sigurdsson and indeed Lukaku. Hot dogs for tea. Great name. Time to ditch Gylfi as we prepare for the double game weeks. Well, yeah, he has been letting us down. And Stoke near Clipper again. Another great name poster. Is anyone looking to ditch Lukaku? He's starting to look at some of these players that have more game weeks. Vardy just has more game weeks. Sanchez, the money there, but Aguero has more game weeks. So yeah, so these are the fixtures. I mean, for me, I think it's less about ditching. It's more about who you're getting in and have you got a wild card and when do you plan to use your wild card. For me, at the moment, I'm sort of looking at players. I'm sort of ignoring 8 game week players to get in. So I got Ryan Bertrand, I got Vardy in, just in case I need to keep Vardy because other issues occur. I've got Sanchez in because Sanchez has got more fixtures. And I think that's the way I'm going to sort of play it because I think these are the players that are going to go up in prices. More people think. And also a lot of these players have good fixtures. And that's the thing. Same rules apply. Have they got good fixtures coming up? Are they in form? I think all the same rules apply. But yeah, I must admit, I'm wary of 8 game week players to get in.
Okay, well, I'll put something to you, Andy, on this. I was looking tonight because I was thinking this Divock Origi option. Divock Origi, it's hard to say that about burst into a song. It's quite tempting because he plays Bournemouth at home, got good fixtures. If Mane's going to be out, if Klopp opens up and goes, yeah, Mane's going to be out for 4 or 5 weeks. Divock Origi, 6-1, but then he's only got 8 fixtures. Should it put us off, or is he still someone like that still worth it as a short-term option?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm using a tactic that's very underrated in FPL, and I'm just winging it as we go. And I just think if you've got a wild card in your back pocket, there's no use worrying about those players that have got, unless they're in game week 34 and maybe you're going to use it afterwards. Then yes, but otherwise they're all after. You're probably going to use your wild card, to get in those players that got the double fixtures. It's probably not a huge worry right now. So someone like Origi is tempted, but I think last time he maybe got a bit lucky with his goal scoring. I think he scored 4 and 4. From like 4 shots on target.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's Bournemouth, so I can see for the Bournemouth game. I just don't know if I want to switch back to 3-4-3 for Origi really longer term. Maybe he's then a Benteke placeholder. I think he's a good differential this week. I just don't know if I want him long term.
But what about the concept of looking? Are you, like Jonty says, wary now getting players in who've only got 8 fixtures, or are you, like you say, you just don't care at the moment because you've got that wild card?
Not that I don't care. I mean, I've got an eye on game week 34 a bit. So, for instance, if I get rid of King, then it'll probably be Zaha. I'm getting Ibra in. He's got a game week 34 fixture. But other than that, I'm not necessarily looking at like ditching them ASAP. But I would think twice about bringing them in. It all depends on how many transfers and stuff you've got left, really. But I'm probably going to wildcard in 35 or 36, whichever game week has the Arsenal double game week in, and then I don't need to worry about it. Then I can just use that wildcard to bring in who I need. So I'm not hugely worried about those with 8 fixtures left. Not just yet, anyway.
Okay, as your views on this, are you shutting down on the 8 game week teams?
Well, I'm in a bit of a different situation to you 3 because I've haven't got my wild card to come. So
of course,
I burnt that a few weeks ago. So my plan was always to prioritise getting in the players with more games. So that's why I got Tadic in. That's why I got rid of Brunt for Valencia. They're all moves looking ahead. So I can't be like Andy. I'd love to just wing it. It's what I do most of the time. But I really have got to look forward at the moment. The one difference in this though is if I get Sanchez in for Mane, I can either afford Origi or Negredo. They are my 2 options. Now Negredo's got the extra game, but he's awful.
Yeah, this is it. This is a classic case, isn't it?
It is. So it's where do I go with a player who I know is probably going to get no points but has an extra game, or a player who probably won't get any points and has I don't know.
Do you know what? Like, every time we start talking about double games, I always get really excited. I'm going to get every player in that I can. Even I can't get behind Middlesbrough attackers. No. Like, I just think that's just
the one player who I had my kind of eye on was Gaston Ramirez. And he's crocked. So
and also his attitude's being questioned a lot. Yeah. I mean, Borough fans don't like him at all. From what I can get.
Although that the Traore guy against Swansea, he was electric.
I know, yeah, but he looks like that every match. Have you not seen Borough? I know you've probably been avoiding watching Borough this season, but he does it every single match.
I know.
Just at the point where he goes, I could get a goal and assist. Oh dear.
Maybe it's coming.
It's no, don't no. Jonty, tell him. We've seen him. We've seen Traore.
No.
I've seen Traore 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
It's quite funny watching Traore.
Yeah, he's all legs and no trousers, isn't he? He just keeps running and running, and yeah. No,
but he could be
nothing happening.
He could be. It's like if Usain Bolt played for Man United. That's what Traore is. It's like, oh my God, look at the pace of what's he done with that?
We've seen it before. Is it Moreno? Was it Moreno at Liverpool? I'm forgetting his name now. The left back, just like a speeding bullet. Who did nothing.
I was at the Amex.
Jesus, oh right, yeah.
I was at the Amex of the weekend, and Blackburn had Emnes, remember the old Swansea guy?
Yeah.
And he was running rings on everyone, but he just had no end product. It's hilarious to watch, but you don't really want to play like that in your fantasy team.
I mean, speaking of Brighton, used to have a player called Nathan Jones who went on for a sterling managerial career at Yeovil, but he was the same. He would just run up and down the left, and he would even tackle himself at times. And these kind of players, they're fairly easy to spot.
He might just time it for the double game weeks. Imagine that. That would put him down in fantasy folklore if he just delivered that double figure haul for us. But no, I mean, Bauer don't have anything, do they? Negredo's the nearest they've got. He's such a frustrating player, Negredo. He will score a couple of goals before the end of the season. It's just whether they drop
his
nicely
pass
in the
to Gested was amazing.
Yeah,
but how we missed that was.
Well, he's Gested. That's why.
Yeah, well, good point.
It's difficult. Okay, let's go back to another player that is near to our hearts. Mentioned by FPL Virgin, mentioned by Hot Dogs for Tea, who's now my favourite name in the community. Gylfi Sigurdsson. What are we going to do with him? Because I look at it and I'm looking at my team for this game week, and I go, I've got to play Sigurdsson versus Spurs, former club. But then I've got Davis in defence. So there's a bit of conflict there. Jonty, you're a big Sigurdsson fan. In that would you play him in that scenario?
While the fixtures are good, I'm keeping him, and he'll probably go on a wild card because simply there'll be players with more games than him. But I'm happy to keep till then. One of the reasons, over to my goals imminent table, he's right at the top of it. 20 goal attempts.
I did notice this. I've set you up
20 goal attempps. Shots inside the box 8, which is pretty good. Shots on target 6. So that's across five starts there. He's doing well. He's doing everything, and every time I listen to the commentary or see the highlights, it's Sigurdsson. He's got to be scoring. So I mean, let's hope Llorente comes back, because then it's going to be lots of Sigurdsson assists. But yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, for me, I don't need to get rid of him. If I needed to free up that money, maybe get a cheaper player there and invest in getting Aguero or something like that, then yeah, I would. But it just depends on people's team and whether they actually need that money. But I wouldn't go and get rid of a player who's actually involved, who looks up for it, has good fixtures. I can't see the point in ditching a player like that.
Andy, Sigurdsson?
Yeah, I think the fixtures are still quite good. Last time I got cold feet over him after a couple of blanks. He just went on and got attacking returns like the next 4 or 5 fixtures.
Remember it well, yeah.
Yeah, he's got good enough fixtures to do that again, I think. The only thing is, I get 7.5 million for him if I sell him. And someone I really want on my team soon is Sané at City, and they have good fixtures from game week 32. And Aguero is just a no-go for me because he's just too expensive. So he's someone I've looked at. Well, I don't know whether I'd have the balls to drop Sigurdsson for him. I don't know, but I would consider that for sure. But I don't think Sigurdsson's given us enough reason to start getting rid just yet. I think he's like we already know, he's on everything, penalties, free kicks, etc. With those fixtures, he could definitely get returns. So I'm not in a huge rush, but I have looked at Sané as a possible option as a differential.
As no goals in 6 for Sigurdsson, but like Andy says, he's on everything. And also for me, Swansea are still in this relegation scrap, so the motivation is there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is the problem of us being so into fantasy football. You remember when a player's done well for you in the past, and I love Sigurdsson. He just buys him time, doesn't it? Like a lot of other players around this price, you would be looking to move on. And I think, like Andy said, Sané at pretty much the same price with how City are setting up to play at the moment. It'd be a nice, easy swap to him, and I think it could do well for you. But I just love Sigurdsson. I just think he's brilliant, and and like you say, he's on everything. And he nearly scored against Middlesbrough with that free kick, and he's putting the ball onto mine and Andy's boy Alfie Mawson's head regularly. So yeah, he's got time for me. He's got some decent fixtures, and I don't think he's going to get anything against Spurs. But after that, he's got 3 good games. So probably keep him for those. Yeah,
we go dewy-eyed, won't we, when we talk about Sigurdsson? He means, you're right, the sentiment of it shouldn't affect us, but it does. It is very strange how that is the case. Let's talk Crystal Palace, Jonty.
Yeah, so Sleep Talk, the guy you defeated in the cup, so I'd like to hear you discuss.
Well, he won't want to hear that over and over again, will he? Go on.
By 2 points because of the cold to Brighton. Sleep Talk, I'd like to hear you discussing Crystal Palace. He demands 4 wins in a row now. Is that right? With the latest against the mighty Chelsea. Indeed. I think I saw something on Twitter today. So they ranked shocks this season. And I believe Watford beating Arsenal is considered the top shock. And Palace was the second, based on previous form and the fixture. So anyway, he thinks that many potentially ignoring them for double game at 34, but could they be must-haves for that? So he thought Van Aanholt, Zaha, and Benteke. And Deadstar is someone I was having a chat with on site about. He was talking, I think he got Zaha in, and I said, good move, and I was very tempted. Before the Mane injury, I was actually very tempted to do that for Matt Phillips to get Zaha in there. But yeah, is Zaha, is he a decent option? Cheap, in good form, playing for a team still needing wins, plus surprisingly better away stats than home. And this is true. I had a look at their... So let's take Benteke and Zaha as a kind of a duo, a pair, because they're kind of assisting each other here, as they did against Chelsea. And so they got a goal and assist each against Chelsea. So they've scored 13 times between them on their travels, but just 3 at home. So that tells the story there. So they've got Southampton coming up away. I think if you're going to get Zaha in, get him in now, because I think you're going to get. I think my man Bertrand is not going to get a clean sheet that game. I don't know whether it's in my head because they're going to the South Coast and they did the Benteke and Zaha show against Bournemouth. But yeah, I look at them and I think you're going to get some returns. Zaha's the one I favour and he's cheaper. So I just think you're going to get better value out of Zaha myself.
Yeah, I mean, looking ahead to 34, we're obviously their defence was something we were drawn to because of their current form. But you look at it, Liverpool Spurs, well, Sacco can't play in the first game. So you're not going to back this Palace defence, maybe even due to the form. So we were kind of hoping that Zaha and Benteke would show a bit of form, and they've done it now. So I guess if you're going to get a Palace player in, it's going to be one of those two. And Zaha would be the favoured option because if you've got 5 in midfield, you can take a risk for that slot. So Zaha, yeah, I mean, I'm chuffed. I like Zaha, always have, and if there's a reason there's a chance of getting a team, I will take it. I'm just not certain yet where I want to. There's other transfers I want to make. I wouldn't do it for a hit, of course. But yeah, I guess Southampton is a good fixture for him because they're not defending particularly well. They've got the clean sheet against Bournemouth, but got away with it, of course. Had Charlie Daniels taken a penalty, but they lost. Your views on Zaha and Benteke, Andy? I mean, are you tempted now?
If I had spare transfers, I would be. I think it's quite funny how this works because like King blanks, Zaha scores. Now I look at the Crystal Palace fixture, I think actually they're not that bad. Whereas before I thought they were awful. So like you said, I think Southampton's actually an okay fixture. Arsenal aren't looking too great at the moment, and Leicester at home. Then it's a double game week, and after that they've got Burnley at home. So I think Zaha fits in pretty nicely. He's very easy to get in. At 5.7, he's not even a risk really. A calculated risk, I suppose. Risk-free, I think. Benteke, I'm not so sure, especially for those of us that are playing 3-5-2. He's a bit harder to fit in. I don't think he's worth a spot right now in our teams. Now, if he keeps it up over the next couple, then I could easily be talked into getting him in for the double game week. But I'm not so keen on because, like you said, Sacco's going to miss that Liverpool game, so clean sheets are going to be potentially not so many. Yes, attacking returns, but I think Zaha's what I'm looking at. I don't really want to overload on this double game week necessarily. So, like I say, he's an easy Josh King swap for me.
As Zaha, Benteke,
yeah, I mean,
early.
For all my love of Sigurdsson, I think Benteke is the anti-Sigurdsson in my life. I cannot stand him.
What's he done to you? Has he really upset you early in the season?
Yeah, he missed penalties. He captained him. He got nothing. Can't stand him. I held him on for like 6 weeks too long as well. But he is. When Allardyce took over, I thought Benteke would become a good option again because he loves that target man up front. Hit the balls to him, he's going to get on the end of them and score. So I think he got the goal for Belgium, and then he's got the goal against Chelsea now and the assist. And I think he could start delivering, in some of these games. And like Andy said, the fixtures aren't actually that bad because Arsenal hopeless at the back, Southampton they look a bit dodgy without Van Dijk, Leicester they're conceding quite a few. So I think Benteke is a good option. Just Zaha's just at a good price, isn't he, at 5.7? So yeah, I think they're both really good options. And if you're looking at moving on a player like Phillips, or someone with less games, then they're a good player to get in, even if it's for a hit. And yeah, go for it. Good.
Yeah, I think Zaha is the easier move, but you raise a good point about Benteke, and he's the kind of player like Lukaku who can score against any defence. He hasn't done it, but you look at that double game at Liverpool and Spurs, and you think, well, Liverpool, former club, he'll want to do something against them. Spurs at home, yeah, that's going to be tough. I mean, anyone struggles to score against them at the moment. It depends really where Spurs are, I guess, in the title race, but.
He's just such a confidence player, isn't he? Like if he gets another goal against Southampton, you fancy him to get another 4 or 5 goals from now to the end of the season.
Yeah. And the goal he scored against Chelsea was interesting, wasn't it? That wasn't the goal of a player struggling for confident. In that he knew exactly what he was doing.
That goal.
Yeah.
I think like for me, and like I think most of us are playing 3-5-2. But there are people out there with like Llorente as third strikers, and I think if you've got a bit of extra cash,
well, I've got Gabbiadini, so I need to get rid of him. So quite an easy switch.
Yeah.
The Gabbiadini experiment, by the way, John T, another example of going too early on double game week assets. We saw that earlier, didn't we?
And I've got one in my team, Matt Phillips. He's still there, and there was of course Junior Stanislas as well. I think Zaha is a good option. I'm looking at getting him in possibly around the game week 33 mark for the double game week. One of the reasons is we talked about, so the 3 double game week teams in game week 34 are Manchester United, Crystal Palace and Middlesbrough. We've already talked about the lack of quality in the Middlesbrough attack. I'm looking at getting a Middlesbrough defender in. That would be my Middlesbrough coverage. Manchester United, as we discussed, we don't know. Let's assume they beat Everton and Sunderland, in which case Ibrahimovic and Valencia would be the obvious ones there, but none of their midfield really, I can safely say they're going to play. So we're looking at a double game week midfielder, and the only one I've got any interest in is Zaha. There isn't anyone at Manchester United or Middlesbrough or anyone else. Even my beloved Jason Punchin doesn't appeal to me. So it's just Wilfried Zaha there, and possibly Benteke, but I think doubling up would be a little bit risk too far for me. I've been actually looking at Palace defender, maybe Hennessy in goal. Hennessy has form for doing well in double game weeks, but also, as we saw, I mean, he really racks up the saves as well. And he's got 2 attacking sides, Liverpool and Tottenham.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, not a bad option. Not a bad option indeed. We're nearly finished, and still John T hasn't managed to mention a certain Leicester City midfielder. We're doing well, guys. Let's keep going. Let's talk about there's a question on Aguero, but I'm going to go to the Navas issue straight away. Okay, the Navas thing. What do we think about this? Because it's an outlier, isn't it, for me, the fact he got the bonus points. We watched it. He wasn't the best player on the pitch, clearly. But what do? He was a stats monster on the day. That's the way the BPS works. What's your views on it, John T, and the way that went?
I don't mind. I mean, that is, as you said, it's something very transparent. If you get do all these different things in a game, you will get a bonus. You get bonus points. Players are already awarded points for goals and assists. If they do other things with them, a bonus, hence it being called bonus points. Navas happened to do that. Yes, it does happen every time. Navas's problem as well is that he's a joke. He's in fantasy circles. He's a joke. As I said, he's like Troy. He just runs up and down and does nothing, and everyone wants him to get off the pitch immediately. So the proper winger
listening to this.
proper winger can come on to feed Aguero, who we'll all be owning. Well, we've all owned it for the last 2 or 3 years. And we're saying, oh, where's my Aguero goals? Navas is to blame. Navas is like a 8 figure. So for him to have the audacity to come in with 8 successful tackles and scoop up the bonus points, it's just like heresy. People like burn the witch. I think it's like, remember when Beckham lashed out in the Argentina game, and they were burning like effigies of him outside pubs. So you can see that Navas effigies being burned, yeah.
And Navas is going to be the new Macaulay in the FPL community. We'll see a lot of Navas tweets on tomorrow night, I guess, when the bonus points come out. Give it to Navas. But it's Andy. There's people wanting to look into this a bit more, isn't it? I noticed you put something on staff forums about it this afternoon.
Yeah, no, I mean that particular one you're talking about, he's been looking at it for a while before this. I think, like you say, there's always going to be an outlier. The funny thing is, I watched that game, And for a game with 4 goals, it was actually pretty poor. And this is going to sound like hindsight now, but I remember watching it at the time because, like everyone else, I think Navas is a bit of a joke. But I remember he put in some really good crosses. There was one for Aguero where Aguero really should have scored from a header. That would have been an assist for him. And there was one where the ball came over, and there's no way Navas should be winning the ball in defence. And he's getting ahead of like Sanchez and Welbecker. So I thought he actually did all right. Obviously, bonus-wise, I know people always want the goal scorers to get the points, but they've already got the points for their goals, so they shouldn't always get the bonus points as well, which I don't think people can get their head around. But yeah, we probably don't need to touch on it too much. I think it doesn't happen that often. When it does, people like to have a good moan about it, really, which is why it's so visible in the community right now.
It's just, I mean, the stats are there. It's not like we can't explain why
it's so transparent.
No, so it's we might not agree with the way the BPS works. Perhaps the tackles need to be weakened a little bit, and it's something perhaps they'll look at. But it is what it is, and he got it. He got the bonus because of the number of tackles he won. It's simple as that. Has anything to add on this, or you just want to move on, don't you?
Well, yeah, because I think it's a shame that someone like Moses plays in a similar role and doesn't get any bonus when he plays well.
He needs to make more tackles.
Yeah, it's just a shame. Like you watch Moses, and he's obviously he's an excellent wing back, and I mean Navas did have quite a good game, but it's a shame that has Moses got a bonus point this season?
A couple when he scored.
Yeah, when he scored. Yeah, So it's just a shame, but what else can you say? The stats are there. Get on with it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's enough of that. Let's do the weekend preview. I said a weekend preview. It's not a weekend preview. It's the Tuesday, Wednesday preview. Let's do the clean sheets. John T, I'll come to you first. Go on, you have first dibs.
Right, I'm going to do it again. Right, who's playing Middlesbrough? Hull.
Oh, come on.
Hull clean sheet. There you go. That's how rubbish Middlesbrough are.
Well, they're not rubbish, are they? Because they kept the clean sheet.
They are rubbish. They're a championship side.
You've already upset
stolen a Premier League place. And are now going to get relegated, so they are rubbish.
He does it every week. He just chooses. He's just going to be chipping away.
Okay, when Middlesbrough start getting these goals, when Traore gets his trousers on, when Negredo gets all those goals from his, if that all happens, then Middlesbrough deserve a Premier League place. But at the moment, they're a Championship side.
No, okay.
So Hull will get a clean sheet.
Okay, do you want to do the fancy on a miss now while you're at it? Because there's a few whole names in there.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to bring up a name. Well, I said Wilfred Ndidi as my fancy on a miss last week, and he scored. And I've been dining out on it ever since. And so I got him from the goals imminent table.
Watching the viewing figures, see if they're dropping off.
They've dropped already. They've dropped off. Just Ndidi watching now. So I'm going to go back to my goals imminent table, and I'm toying with Grzycki or Ashley Barnes. I think I'm going to go. Let's go, because my hate with Middlesbrough is now reaching crescendo. I'm going to go for Grzycki. I was going to say Ashley Barnes. I'm going to go for Grzycki now.
Okay.
Really hammer those nails into Middlesbrough's coffin.
It's a good job Somerset's quite a long way from Teesside, is all I got to say. Andy, clean sheets and fancy on a risk.
Yeah, I would have probably gone with Leicester anyway, but now there's news that Defoe might not even play. I think Leicester look really good for a clean sheet this week, so that would be my pick. And then I've had Mkhitaryan ruled out as a fantasy island risk, so I'm just going to take another Man United player instead. Jesse Lingard. I think if Matt is out, there's probably a higher chance he plays again, so he's going to be my fantasy island risk this week.
Okay. Clean sheets. It's quite tough now. As I'm looking at it, I'm getting a sweat on. I'm a bit worried.
Yeah.
Go on, what are you going to go with?
And Andy nicked mine. I was going to go for Leicester. Well, I'll go for Borough. So me and Johnsy can hope for a 0-0.
Oh, you're going the other way?
Nil that. Yeah. I mean, they're all right defensively.
Yeah, that's right.
They could keep Matt 0-0 all over it. I reckon that game.
Yeah. Let's speak up for Teesside at this point. I'll fancy on a risk.
I'll go for Jay Rodriguez. He played up front for Southampton.
I think he's going to get another one out. Shane long time, surely, Andy.
He's a risk, isn't he?
It could be Shane Long. We'll see. I don't know how he played, actually. I didn't see the game.
He had a couple of chances, Rodriguez. He just didn't take them. So
no, he's a good player. When we saw him on the list as a midfielder start the season, we were rubbing our hands and waiting for him to come get fit again and start getting regular starts. And then Puel started rotating like a spinning top, and it was no chance. But maybe next season.
I am gutted about Gabbiadini, though. I really am. For these two games, I thought he was such a good option. And
see, this is it. We're talking about Benteke and Zaha, and going in early for the double game week, and we've done it, and we've seen it. Injuries can interrupt that. And Teke and Zaha aren't injury prone, so you've got to think they should be all right. But there's a risk there. There's always a risk going in early for these players, and we've seen it with Gabbiadini. My clean sheet, Chelsea. No, I'm just going to go Chelsea because I look at it and I think having lost that game, the obvious reaction will be, okay, that's just professional performance, 0-0 or 1-0 win. I don't think that game's going to be very open. I know City that will go there and attack, and they've got to, but I think Chelsea can shut a game down. And I think that's what Conte's going to do. I think he'll get a reaction after that defeat. I think it actually would be it's a handy result. Had they drawn, I think it would have been a better result almost for Spurs, because I think Chelsea now will just win that game or draw it and go and just close out the title now. They'll change the way they play and they'll just get results and grind out to the title. So I think they're going to win that 1-0. And so I'm going to go with a Chelsea clean sheet. And with the risk, I was going to go Robertson of Hull, because I do think you're right. I think Hull will keep a clean sheet in that game. And Robertson playing wing-back, or did play wing-back. But I think they might go to 4 at the back. So I'm going to go Damari Gray, who looks like he's going to start for Leicester. And I think that Sunderland look doomed, don't they? And Damari Gray, although Albrighton's fit, I think that Gray's going to get his start because he played so well ahead of him at the weekend. So Gray for me is my risk. Okay, let's talk about captains and transfers. Coming back to you, John T, what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, I've already done it. I've got Sanchez in for Mane, and I'm going to captain him. It's between him and Vardy, really. Realistically, I was joking with Andy Carroll, but then I think he's going to score. But I think between Vardy and Sanchez gets my vote. I just think you have to. It's just not a week to take a risk.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. I think we're all going to go Sanchez, aren't we? Having doubted him earlier. Andy, your transfer and captain.
Yeah, I already made my transfer, like I said earlier. So I've done Mane to Ali. It looks like Mane's, according to journalists on Twitter now, is going to be out for at least a couple of games, maybe 2 months. So that looks like a good move. I'm almost certainly going to do Costa out for Ibra for a hit. I know Costa had a load of shots in the last game, but Costa's just one of those players that just doesn't agree with me. And I got him in when I should have got Vardy in, and now he's annoyed me because he's blanked twice and got 2 yellow cards. I just want Ibra back, so I think I'm going to take a hit to bring Ibra in. And captain is Sanchez, but I think Ali is a really good option this week. But there's something about I struggle to captain him. I don't know why. But yeah, it's going to be Sanchez for me. I think it just seems obvious. So
going back to Ibra, we were talking about is it too early? You're going to get him for a hit.
Do you know what? I bought Costa in. It was a mistake. I mentioned Vardy first. I didn't get him. I went against my own kind of thoughts and got Costa in, who I've said many times just doesn't scare you because he doesn't score enough. He comes in, he gets 2 yellow cards after I didn't get him earlier in the season because of that 1 yellow card after he scored all those goals in a row. So I'm cutting off. What's the saying? Cutting off your own nose to spite your face, maybe. But I just think Everton are playing a few kids. Sunderland away is probably a good fixture for Ibra. He's had a rest. We can't score goals without him, so he's going to obviously be the focal point of the attack. So it's maybe a slight risk because Costa's got Bournemouth as well afterwards. But then it's Man United away, I think, or home.
No, I'm with you on the Costa thing.
He's only got two out of 3 fixtures aren't that great for him. So I'm just hoping Ibra can do it. Plus, I've had Ibra for most of the season when I can, so why not get him back?
Over to you, transfer and captain.
I just want to apologise to Anne. I think ever since I first came on here, I was bigging Costa up, and ever since then, he's been awful. So
it's all your fault.
Sorry about that. Well, I'm in a bit of a predicament because I need to get rid of Mane and I need to get rid of Gabbiadini. I don't really want to take more than a -4. So I can either get Sanchez in and Negredo or Origi. That's my price range, 6.2. Or I could get Ericsson and Vardy. So I don't know. It's difficult.
Are you going to be brave enough? Because the thing is with Sanchez, as we've said before, is that when you haven't got him, it's horrible. But also, if you know the majority are going to captain him as well.
Vardy is going to outscore Origi or Negredo quite comfortably. So does that outweigh the Sanchez not outscoring? I don't know. I'm 90% just going to get Sanchez and play it safe because I couldn't handle the abuse on here. So yeah, just probably going to play it safe. But part of me wants to have a load of wine tonight and get in Ericsson and Vardy.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm completely stumped because I could leave my team alone and I've got a decent 11. The worry I've got is I've got to play Andy Carroll in this game, haven't I? Surely. I benched him twice and he's nearly hurt me. I got away with it. I've got to play Son at Swansea. Son's going to play, and I think he'll do well at Swansea. Got to play Eriksen, Sanchez. Do I play Sigurdsson? I want to, really. So I've got to get rid of Aguero if I'm going to make a transfer, and that's risky. I do think Chelsea might win that 1-0, and I am tempted to doing the Maverick, especially if Andy. I mean, while we've been on air, Mane news has broken. I am thinking of going Aguero to Origi and having Origi for the Bournemouth game, because I think if Liverpool win, Origi could be in the points and it will cover that. So I don't know. I'm weighing that up. It's very, very difficult. Captain will be Sanchez low. I can't not do that. I don't think. I do think West Ham will score, and I think Arsenal cannot lose to West Ham at home. They've got to win that game, and there's got to be 2 or 3 goals in it for them. So Sanchez surely will deliver this time. So that's what I'm doing with the captaincy. What I do with the transfer, watch this space, I guess. Very, very difficult one this week for me. I've given myself this horrible scenario where I've got Carroll and Son, and one of them can't play normally. So I've always got to have a strong player on the bench. I wish I hadn't have done that, John T. That's a horrible... We've all done this, though, haven't we? Then you regret it straight away, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about kind of formation a couple of game weeks ago and saying a lot of the managers in positions where you are up the rankings were actually getting a flexible formation, a kind of, could they play 3-4-3? There is obviously always a risk with that, but I think if you can play the fixtures, I mean, on paper this is a bad fixture, but when you look into it, this is a great fixture for Andy Carroll. If I were you, I would bench Lukaku. I think it's obvious.
Well, this is it. I
would definitely be benching Lukaku if I was in your position. But you have to do. But that's the thing. How strong is that? See, I'm a step behind that because I've got Matt Phillips. I've got to bench him every time. So I have to go in, and I'm going into this game week thinking Lukaku's probably going to get me 2 points. I'll be lucky if he can get me 6, but he's probably going to get me 2 points.
Yeah.
Now I'm playing a player that I know that's my limit. Whereas you've got the option of benching.
Yeah, I'm playing McCauley at Watford, which it's not that. It's getting rid of Aguero as well. It's like it's very dangerous, isn't it?
I don't know if that's the right call, to be honest.
What's that? Getting rid of Aguero?
We didn't get to chat about him, but I think Aguero's a bit of a weird one right now. He's probably overpriced, but unless you really need that money, he's got good fixtures coming. He's in pretty good form.
I'm very, very happy with him. Very happy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be getting rid of Aguero. No, I mean,
I'm quite glad that I had to make that decision because I got rid of him a few weeks ago. I'm quite happy that I don't have to decide this, but I think it's probably worth keeping him at the moment.
Yeah, unless you but then I'm not making a transfer. Maybe that's a good thing because maybe it gives me time to look at Ibra, see how United do. Then I've got 2 transfers going into the weekend.
Did you say you were going to do Aguero to Origi?
Possibly, yeah. Because
I mean, that is brave.
I'm getting Origi in if you're doing that.
Not everything I touch.
I think, I mean, a few times. I've recently got rid of Aguero. I got rid of Aguero to get Vardy in because I think Vardy do well, but I also got rid of him because there's a 3 million or so difference in price, and that 3 million this week enables me to get Sanchez in, and I've still got 2 million in the bank, which means I can take another move. And it all depends. When you're getting rid of a player like Aguero, or like when I got rid of Hazard a while back, you have to have a plan in thinking, how am I going to use that money? You don't get rid of a player like that without having a backup of a bunch of players that can do well.
The obvious plan is you go Aguero to Origi for 1 week, Origi to Zlatan for the Sunderland game. That'd be my
I think that. I mean, I personally would keep Aguero for this week. I wouldn't bother with Origi. And if you want Zlatan in for Aguero, just make that move, and then you're still going to get 2 million in the bank from that in a week or two, or even do it this week. I mean, if you're going to make that move anyway. But yeah, I mean, I like Aguero. I mean, I got him as part of a plan to use his money elsewhere. I'm betting 2 players can beat him and 1 cheap player. But if you don't need the money, you don't need the money. Then you've got Eriksen, you've got Sanchez. You don't need to get rid of Aguero. There's nothing that says.
And this Aguero character is quite good, I've heard. So
he's pretty pacey. Yeah,
as well. Could be captain next week.
Okay. Well. Talk me out of my Maverick plans. The community will be disappointed. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. I noticed we hit a record high. That must be the Wilfred Ndidi fan club of all tuned in tonight.
It was actually his family. Brought his family along. They're the extra 300.
Well done. Hello to the Wilfred Ndidi fan club. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Az. And thank you, John. To you. Monday night, that was good. I enjoyed that. Pre-game week Scoutcast. We'll be back next week, of course. Maybe at the regular time on a Tuesday. We'll see. But it's for now a good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, all. Good luck in the game week.